If you could get here for no later than 7:30. Right.
We can always put them out. Can we not get rid of those boxes? Yeah, but earlier in the on the left, because if people want to buy afterwards, they can take it's because
Hadi hadi da. Ya ben iyi görün. Tamam lan.
Take another one.
It's not digital. Yeah. Digital, yeah? Digital stuff. Alright. Good. Here you go. Can we take those off? No, it's all right. I got you to give the light. I want a photo of you on your chair. That's good. Is that your chair? I thought you were like,
सारे दोस्त क्या पुणे बाजार से शायद हो जाता in it.
Let me see my portrait, man.
You know where they're shopping? No, the main at the front, on in road. Yeah?
Space on this both side. And same on this side, please come back to the middle.
Camera थोड़ा still है ना? क्या है?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. George Galloway. If everybody can please stay back, you get a shot. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will get a chance to see Mr. Galloway later on. If you just give him a little bit of space for now. George will be good. Right, ladies and gentlemen, if I can just announce, George will be cutting the ribbon, and then he'll be going inside, and if you could everybody follow him inside, and George will be speaking inside when we're all in there. Thank you.
Few words before that. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's say
Parents and friends, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for coming out in such beautiful numbers for this auspicious occasion of the official opening of the Constituency Office and the Respect Office, which inshallah will be a permanent feature of politics and public life here in this great city of Bradford. I'm going to make a proper speech inside, but let me, to those who might not be able to get inside because the crowd is so large, let me just say first that I apologize for my lateness. I've just been addressing a very large audience of the Bradford Civic Society, not an audience that is automatically sympathetic to our messages, but which, as those who were there, Mr. Ator and others who were there, can testify, our messages were cheered to the rafters. Because it is a calumny spread by our opponents that we are some kind of sectional, exclusive political force in this city. We are fighting for the hearts and minds and votes of every single person in Bradford and beyond. And not just Bradford, by the way. Tomorrow afternoon, I shall be taking Respect to Hunt, and those who are within striking distance of Huddersfield might want to come and see just exactly how we are received there. And of course our work will be greatly strengthened by the resource that this office, God willing, will provide. First to the constituents here in Bradford West, who will have a place fully staffed and hospitable to them, open all the time for them to come and go and drop in with their problems. Every single week, I think with one exception, since I was elected, I've held a surgery here across the road in Chamber Solicitors, and many hundreds of constituents have availed themselves of that. That surgery, God willing, starting tomorrow, will be here in our constituency office. And as you can see, nobody will be able to miss it. It's quite a sight, for which I owe a fantastic debt of gratitude. For this, amongst many, many other things, for Chamber Solicitors and the family that runs it, who have made all of this possible. I mean literally all of this. I wouldn't be here as the Member of Parliament without them and without you. It's so beautiful for me to see again all these faces who were with us from day one and throughout what's turned out to be the most historic by-election campaign in modern British history. They're still making television about us. If you Google the word Bradford and count the number of times it's been mentioned in the national and international press since the 29th of March, and compare it with any decade, not 12 weeks, but any decade hitherto, you'll see what I'm talking about. I only made one promise in the by-election campaign, and it was this: if you vote for the other guy, nobody will notice. If you vote for me, everybody will notice. And that's exactly what, thanks to you, and by the grace of God, people did in unprecedented numbers. So let me cut this ribbon and then go inside and make a speech, if I may, which I hope even if you're outside you will, about the priorities that I rehearsed at the Civic Society this evening, but will expand upon in what I have to say inside. So, bless Constituency Office and all who work in it, and all who come.
I now declare the Respect Constituency Office of George Galloway MP officially open.
Hello George, how are you doing?
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for coming out.
If everybody can make their way inside now, thank you very much, and come up the stairs. Thank you.
Very, very nice. My dear, how are you? I'm fighting competition, as you're about to hear. I'm about to make a speech. I'll have you standing up. How are you keeping? God strengthen you. You're fast recovering. Hello,
Keep an eye on that
Well, here we are in the brand new Respect Party Office and the constituency office of myself as George Galloway MP. Proud to be the MP for Bradford West, and only the MP for Bradford West because of the efforts of each and every one of you. None of you could have been spared from the great effort that we made. All of you were critically important to its success. But in the end, all praise is due to God, who blessed our efforts with success. Success which has transformed the political landscape in this city in just 12 weeks. I've just been addressing the Bradford Civic Society, an all-white, all-middle class, all elderly and middle-aged group of concerned citizens here in the city of Bradford, some of the finest of the citizens here in Bradford. And I must tell you that without exception, a very large audience applauded to the rafters the critique that we make about how badly things are run in Bradford, how much those things need to change if we're going to get out of the hole, the literal hole that the civic leaders here in Bradford have put us into. And I want to just sketch some of those problems which we need to have fixed if this city is going to recover. I don't think it's the mic. All of what I'm going to say, all of it is incontestable fact. None of this is rhetoric. None of this is propaganda. Everything I'm about to say is incontestable, statistical fact. Bradford is the fastest growing black spot for unemployment in the entirety of this country. Bradford has mass unemployment and mass poverty by any indices. Little Horton, just one ward in this city, has the highest level of child poverty anywhere in England. More children living in poverty in one ward in Bradford than anywhere else in this country. And Greenwood had the cheek to try and get re-elected as a councillor in Little Horton with a record like that. No wonder the people chased him out, and Councillor Elias swept to victory and removed the leader of the council. We got rid of Greenwood, but now we've got Green. So we got rid of half the problem, and we've only got the other half still to go. But I'm going to tell you, he might have diamond-studded earrings, but he's definitely not the jewel in the crown of this city. His approach to the problems that I am outlining here this evening is to pretend that they don't exist and to blame the messenger for highlighting crimes and misdemeanors over which he is presiding. Sugar Ray, Salamu Alaikum. We have the fastest growing rate of unemployment. We have almost the highest rate of unemployment. We have the fastest growing rate of youth unemployment. And we have the 8th worst schools in England. Out of 151, we're the 8th worst. By the way, when I started making these speeches, we were the 10th worst. Now we're the 8th worst. How long will it be before we are the worst? And what's their reaction when I stand up in the House of Commons and demand that the Secretary of State for Education himself must meet me to discuss this crisis, this crime against the children of Bradford? The council attacks me for highlighting what is in fact a national scandal, that our children are being cheated. All of us are paying taxes. The government's putting hundreds of millions into education in Bradford, and the results are getting worse and worse. So Gove agrees to meet me. And when I get there, I demand that he comes to Bradford with me to look at the schools, examine the problem, and do something about it. And Gove agrees. What's the reaction of Green and the Labour Council? It's to attack me for highlighting the fact that we've got the 8th worst schools in England. Talk about shooting the messenger. I mean, it's unbelievable. I went on BBC Radio Leeds after the closure notice at Thomas Cook's and said that Bradford was becoming a national emergency. What's Green's response? No, we're not a national emergency. Don't come and help us. We don't need anything. We're doing fine. Well, every one of you knows that we're not doing fine. How could we be doing fine with statistics like these? if someone strayed from the Olympic path and ended up in the city centre in Bradford over the next 4 weeks, what would they find? They'd find a giant hole where Westfield is supposed to be, that was dug after the council agreed to knock down half of our city centre without even a contract worth the paper that it isn't even written on. When we demanded, what are the penalty clauses for Westfield's failure to deliver after we knocked the city centre down for them, we were told by Green, there are no penalty clauses. Somebody should be sacked, if not sent to prison, for that crime against the people of Bradford. What else would you see if you drove into the city centre? You'd see the Odeon shrink-wrapped, crumbling, tumbling, falling down behind a screen in the hope that we won't notice that a once iconic building in our city has been left to rack and ruin. Soon Thomas Cook will be closed and another 600 or 700 jobs will be lost. So what else is there in the city centre? Well, there's a £30 million pond without any ducks in it.
Right.
I could have dug that pond for £1 million. I've got enough friends. We could have dug that pond for £1 million.
Yeah.
And it would have been of more use to us.
That's right.
I tell you, the people running this city ought to be in jail. Some of them ought to be in jail because they're crooks, and others ought to be in jail because of the criminal incompetence with which they have governed this city's affairs. And we're not going to stop saying that. We're not going to stop demonstrating that. Our friends occupied the Westfield. Wait till you see what they're going to occupy next. Watch this space. We're going to organise in September a march from Bradford to London under the slogan, Bradford isn't working. The people of Bradford aren't working. The council in Bradford isn't working. Our whole economic and social system in this city isn't working. And I hope that those of you who are fit enough to do so will march with me and my friends all the way to London to draw attention and demand action on our problems here. We are vitally concerned, of course, with the situation in our own city. But that doesn't mean we can ignore the problems in the country as a whole. And let me tell you something. The decision of the Lib Dem Tory coalition to scrape the barrel of anti-immigrant prejudice with a new set of racist laws concerning marriage, to isolate, if they can, the ethnic minority communities, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu. This is not a Muslim issue. This is an issue that affects all the black and minority ethnic communities in this country. The reason they've done it, the reason they've set a bride price of £18,000, absolutely racist. I have a bride who's a foreigner. I was able to bring her into this country like that. Why? Because I've got money. But if you don't have 18,000, You can forget about bringing the bride of your choice. You'll have to have a bride that the government chooses. At least chooses from where she comes. Now, I'm glad they didn't do that for me. But I tell you this, I will use my last breath to call this policy what it is. This policy is pure discrimination against minorities and against the poor. It's discriminating against the poor. It's discriminating against people of colour, and we will not accept it. We'll fight it in Parliament and outside of Parliament. We can't ignore the crisis that is enveloping our country, where the banks are on trial for grand larceny. I mean, there's crooks in the Bradford City Council, that's for sure. But there's much bigger crooks in the City of London, and they've got away with the prize. They've got away with the prize. Our banks are on trial. Our media is on trial in front of Leveson, where all their criminal misdeeds are daily being exposed. Our politicians have already been on trial over their thieving of expenses and have been found guilty and are held by the people in contempt. Our whole political system in this country, even O2 in the centre of London, couldn't maintain a mobile phone signal for an entire 36 hours. O2, which used to be BT, which used to be British Telecom, which used to be something we were proud of around the world. You can get a mobile signal in Ouagadougou, in Burkina Faso, but not in the centre of London this week. Our country, its economy, its politics, its media, its banks are all bankrupt, at least bankrupt of credibility, and we intend ruthlessly to continue to expose that. Now lastly, whilst we are deeply concerned with our local matters, whilst we must be concerned about the country in which we live, we will not accept crimes being committed in other countries against other people. As Che Guevara said, the man who is not capable of trembling with indignation about any injustice against any person, anywhere, is not a man at all. And we continue to tremble with indignation at the crimes daily being committed against the Palestinian people under occupation and under siege. Which is why I can tell you now that the Viva Palestina 6 convoy, which left from this building and went all the way to Aqaba in Jordan and was refused entry by the military junta then in charge of Egypt, is going to try again in September to enter Gaza, and I hope that it will have your blessing and your support. We intend to take a fleet of vehicles laden with aid on the 7th of September into Gaza. I hope you'll support it. And women here should know this. Every driver of every vehicle will be a woman. It's a women's convoy. And I hope it will be largely a Bradford women's convoy, because women were absolutely key to our great victory here on the 29th of March. Lastly, I want to say this. All around you, you can see the fruits of the labour and the vision of one family in particular, without whom I would not be standing here now. Be sure about that. All of us here played our part in that victory, but none of us here would have been able to achieved that victory if it were not for Chambers solicitors across the road and who are the owners of this building in which we stand tonight. Thank you, brother. Bullett's one of the heroes of the Westfield occupation. So I want to thank Dr. Ayub and Alias and all the family, especially Alias's father, whose hands and whose workers transformed this, I hope they don't mind me saying so, shell into this beautiful resort that we now have at our disposal. May God bless these offices and all who work in them, and all who come to them for help, and all who come to them to give help to others. This resource, we intend, will be the platform from which we take this campaign onwards to still greater victories. We got rid of Greenwood until we've got rid of Green, until we've got rid of the people running the city, until we've begun to take political power across this city in order to transform it. Our work will not be done. I hope that God gives me breath to complete that job. But if not, I hope you will remain faithful to our fight for justice and hack, which on the 29th of March, from this street, we announced to the country and the world. Google the word Bradford and see how many times it's been mentioned in the national and international media in the last 12 weeks, and compare it with any 12 years in the entire history of this city, and you will see that the one promise I made, people keep saying to me, oh, he made lots of promises. I only made one promise. You know this, I have a very, very good memory. So I know that I only made one promise, and that promise was this: if you elect the other guy, nobody will notice. But if you elect me, everybody will notice. Everybody will have to sit up and take notice. And that's a promise that has been kept in spades. But we have to use that to unite for still greater victories. Tomorrow I'm in Huddersfield after the surgery, launching Respect in Huddersfield. We're launching Respect in Halifax. We're launching Respect in Dewsbury. We're launching Respect in Leeds. We're fighting the parliamentary by-election in Manchester Central on the 15th of November. Please help us to win that, so that I'm not so lonely sitting in the House of Commons, and that I have another Respect MP alongside me. My last point is exactly what I've been reminded of. We had hundreds of people, probably more than 1,000 actually, in our election campaign. We have a huge crowd here. But even though, and I'm glad you do, most of you consider yourselves as supporters of Respect, you have to join. You have to join the party in order to participate in the selection of candidates, the shaping of policies and tactics and strategies. So please, join Respect. Tonight, there are lots of forms here, and if not tonight, then in subsequent days, online or here. I think I have a very heavy cake in front of me, and my friends are growing tired having to hold it. MashaAllah, look at that. MashaAllah. Let's make sure we get pictures of that. What a cake. What a cake. Wow. It says, congratulations on the opening of Respect Constituency Office, sponsored by Chambers Solicitors, who provided this cake and so much else over these months in which we made history, all of us. Thank you very much for coming. Wassalamu alaikum. What shall I do with this? Is this a dagger I see before you? Down with the people who have misgoverned our city. Onwards to victory for justice and hack. I declare this office well and truly open.
He's going to stop. Want to get some samosas?
No, I'll have some in a bit.
No, what difference?